So yesterday I was in this slide where we discussed the digestive system and the excretory system. There are some friends who have joined today. I have already sent you the recording of yesterday's session. You will have to go through it in order to understand today's session also. From tomorrow onwards, I will not be permitting any new entries. So whoever joined today, you will have to bear with me for whatever we covered yesterday. I cannot repeat the whole things again. That is why I have sent you a video. When you have time, go through that video before attending tomorrow's session. Let me go to the next slide. Before that, I just want to remind our participants to remember this picture of the stomach, where you have a mucosa layer and you have three layers of muscles. You should always remember whenever a food goes inside, what happens inside this stomach. Whatever I had discussed yesterday, you should recall it. And you should always remember this picture where there is a stomach, above which there is liver. Biggest muscle in the body is liver, below which you have pancreas. Somewhere here you have gallbladder, then you have a small intestine, large intestine. Behind you will have two kidneys. I'm going to discuss more about kidneys and liver later on. But whenever I speak in today's session, you will have to always visualize these two pictures. Let me go ahead. Let me start today's discussion. Early morning, what you are supposed to do? Early morning, practice Ushappana. And after a while, defecate, brush the teeth. Here the recorder button is on. Until it goes out, I am unable to see some wordings here, but I think you will be able to see. After some time it will go out. Until then I'll have to wait. Okay, it has gone. Practice Ushappana, then walk for a while, and then defecate and brush the teeth and wash the face, and practice Yogasana afterwards if you are into yogic practice, or else go into any other regular physical exercises. Consume breakfast after taking bath. This Ushappana is discussed in the Ayurvedic texts, which is a very healthy practice. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you should not go to toilet, you should not brush your teeth. Directly go to the kitchen, take one glass of water. If it is winter season or cold season, slightly warm water. Put the water on the gas and slightly heat it and take one warm water. Otherwise, if it is summer season, one glass of cold water. Put this water, little bit of water into the mouth and gargle and swish within the mouth and spit it out. After spitting it out, you can do it one or two times or even for three times you can do it. After that, drink one full glass of either warm water or lukewarm water or a cold water as per the season. This I am telling you before going to toilet, before going for brushing. This is called as Ushappana. Drinking water after brushing is not called as Ushappana. Now you may feel mouth is dirty in the early morning, sir. How do we drink water at that time? Then my answer will be, yesterday as I had told you, the whole body internally is dirty as such. The body has got the body promoting organisms or red blood cells and white blood cells and all those life giving organisms. Equally, the body also has got many bacteria inside, many germs inside. At night, in general, in the esophagus, all these are going to multiply. Even in the mouth, these germs are going to multiply. Ultimately, his body is nothing but a collection of so many microorganisms. Some are useful organisms and some are disturbing organisms. This body is nothing but a collection of microorganisms. So even in the esophagus and in the mouth, the microorganisms which are there, they will find time to multiply at night. So as soon as you wake up in the morning, if you give a time for brushing and then going to toilet and then drinking water, by that time even the microorganisms will come to know that the body has woken up. When the body has woken up, they will again go back into dormant state. So as soon as you wake up, you wash your mouth like this, put a little bit of water into the mouth and swish it and gargle it and then spit it, then drink one glass of water. The germs which are in the mouth and the germs which are in the esophagus, all those germs will go into the stomach. Remember the picture of the stomach. All these germs will go along with the water into the stomach. When they go into the stomach, inside the stomach there will be residual hydrochloric acid. As soon as the body wakes up, stomach will produce a residual hydrochloric acid, and in that hydrochloric acid all these germs will die. This is how body will develop immunity. You may think without brushing teeth drinking water is dirty. Change that particular mindset. The whole body inside is basically dirty. Watch for that particular movie called Inner Space. Very old movie, but very beautiful movie. Whoever has not watched that movie, please watch that movie. That was directed by Steven Spielberg. One of the very good movies which I have watched in my earlier days. So, internally, the body is full of germs only. Don't worry much about the germs. They have found out, the Ayurvedic rishis have found out that the only way to develop immunity of the body is to reduce the number of these germs or microorganisms, and our body has a power of burning these microorganisms on its own. So, if you give time for brushing, by that time these microorganisms will settle somewhere. They will find some corners within the body itself, they will settle somewhere. Next day night again they will come out of their hidden places. So in the morning itself, when you drink this particular water takes all those which are in the esophagus also, which are in the mouth also, and the stomach will simply burn them. I have been practicing this method from last 20 years. And this method my yoga teacher did not teach me. This method was taught by one particular gentleman called Sajjanagada Ramdas. I don't know whether now he is there or not. He used to stay somewhere near Nandi Hills, and he was highly knowledgeable about the human body. I attended one of his sessions in Hanumant Nagar. One whole day, one session was there, interactive session was there. There he gave us a lot of such health tips. Later on, I found out that this is already mentioned in the Ayurvedic textbooks. You can also search for it. So that is Ushappana. Ushappana means as soon as you wake up, drink water. Water has its own consciousness and water has great healing properties. Water can dilute all the toxic substances which are in the body. That is one thing. Second thing, this water goes inside and later then you walk for a while. If you are middle-aged, if you have crossed middle age, then it is better that you walk for a while. When you walk for a while, this water will settle itself inside the stomach for some time. Then after a few minutes, this water will go into the intestine also, and it will take away all the germs all the way. This water is actually flushing the complete digestive system. It will go all the way till the small intestine. Water will not stay in the stomach for more time. So within the next half an hour, it will be settling in the intestine. Then you go to defecate, because if you walk for a while, then you go to the toilet, it will be easy for you to move the stools out, because this water goes into the small intestine. It will dilute the solid waste which is accumulated there to some extent, or it will develop some amount of pressure there, so that defecation or excretion will be easy for you. Then brush the teeth and then wash the face. If you are involved in yogasana, you can practice yogasana or else go for some physical exercise. This water which is inside the intestine now, once you perform this physical exercise, gradually your whole small intestine will be cleansed by the water which you have drunk already half an hour before. So that is why I have been stressing about the importance of Ushappana. Drink water as soon as you wake up, not later. Then later on you can consume breakfast after taking bath. In this particular session, I am discussing more about art and science of eating only. After the sessions are over, if there are people who are interested for the next session, in that next session, I am going to discuss about how to maintain the health of the sense organs. There I am going to discuss more about mouth and nose and eyes and ears. That is my plan. Later on, that will be my second session. Later on, if people are still more interested, I have one more session where I will be discussing about the memory. how to take care of the brain, and how to take care of the memory. These three are basically, one is for the health of the physical body, next one is for the health of the sense organs, next one is for the health of the memory and the mind, last one is for the health of the self, for which I have a masterpiece presentation called Sacred Secret. For those people who will stay with me till then, though, for those who are interested, I'm going to plan that session also. Let me not talk more about the future sessions. It is up to the people to take it from me. As of now, I am going to discuss only about the digestive and excretory systems. I will not talk more about the health of the mouth as such. Later on in my second session, I am going to discuss about the toothpaste, tooth powder and all other teeth related things. So don't ask me questions about all that in this session, because once I start talking, I don't know when I am going to stop, when the next comma or semicolon or full stop is going to come. As I have told you yesterday, my speech comes out like this, spontaneously, sometimes intuitively. So, limit your questions only for the topics which we discuss in this session. If yogasana is scheduled for a later time, then don't bear the hunger for much longer. Just a minute, somebody is sending me a message in mobile phone. Just a minute. Sorry for this disturbance, but somebody wants to join and they are asking me help. It is the same password as yesterday, and I had already sent the mail to them, and they might not have seen the mail. When people from US and people from Slovenia can join, people from Bangalore have a problem in joining. I don't know how to help them. They should equip themselves with the online skills. Okay, let me continue. Let us say if yogasana is scheduled, or let us say physical exercise is scheduled. Yesterday I have told that in your daily schedule, half an hour you should dedicate for physical exercise in the morning. Don't ignore that physical exercise in the morning. Most of us who are staying in the urban areas, we don't get enough of physical activity in the body. Many of us are sitting in front of the computers whole day, or some of us are in the offices, and if you ignore the body now, later on in the old age you will have to pay heavy price for that. So whatever business you may be having, how much ever busy you may be, per day at least 30 minutes dedicate yourself for some amount of physical exercise in your body. It need not be yogasana, it can be anything else also. If you practice yogasana, it is still better. Let us say this exercise or yogasana is scheduled for a later time, then don't bear the hunger for much longer. Normally what happens is, especially in the Indian context, generally the housewives or the ladies will, we should not call them as housewives, in general we should call them as homemakers or house mothers. They wake up early in the morning, and they will have their own schedule to prepare the breakfast and all other daily chores. They will be relaxing themselves only when husband goes to office or when children go to school, or they themselves also go to their working places. Until then they will bear that hunger. So if they wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes they have breakfast at 9 o'clock. This is a very very bad practice. I'll show you the picture of stomach once again. Look at the stomach again. This picture should come in your dream also today. Now look at this mucosal layer, look at the stomach. As soon as you wake up, the brain sends a signals to the stomach saying that the body has woken up. And the stomach gets the signal from the brain. Immediately stomach is ready for the day's activity. So stomach by itself will gradually start secreting acid. As soon as a child wakes up, what is its normal routine? As soon as a child wakes up, it will cry. When it cries, the mother will feed it milk or mother will feed it food. That has been the habit of the body. Unless you practice fasting or unless you have developed such physical abilities of not developing a hunger, which is a great yogic practice, normally everybody will have some amount of hunger, and this uh, stomach will secrete at least some amount of hydrochloric acid here in the mucosa layer. Now, if you hold it, gradually you are giving a chance for the damage of this mucosa layer. This particular spongy layer called mucosa layer, that should never be damaged inside the stomach. If this mucosa layer gets damaged, that is when stomach pain gets developed, and the pain may gradually become a wound may become an ulcer, it may become something else in future where you will have to pay a much bigger price. And hospitals will have all types of facilities like endoscopy and all types of biopsy, everything else. But if a particular thing is damaged inside the stomach, it cannot be replaced. It has to heal itself. By healing itself, it has to become all right. Otherwise, a particular part cannot be replaced. It is not like a plastic surgery, it is not as easy. So, yesterday I had told about how God created or how God designed all these organs. Take care of those organs, respect those organs, respect the design, respect the designer, respect the manufacturer. So, hunger is a danger sign, thirst is a danger sign. You should not allow until body tells you that I am hungry. Before that itself, you should satiate. Otherwise, my experience tells me, let us say once hunger starts, in the next 15-20 minutes, hunger will become heavy. If the next half an hour, if I hold my hunger, then dizziness will develop, or headache may develop, or people may faint. Body is telling, I am hungry, give me food. So you should not wait until body tells you that it is hungry. You should satiate the hunger. So my advice would be as such. Always you should have some fruits in your bags, bananas or apples or mangoes or whichever particular types of fruits. Wherever you are there, you may be traveling or you may be anywhere. If the body gives you a minimum sign of hunger, at that time itself you should consume one banana or one piece of apple. Don't feel shy that what others will think. If you feel about what others will think, they will not solve your problem of the stomach. So don't feel bad about what others think about all those things. That shyness we should not develop. That way, kids are very good. Kids and children, they don't have such ego or they don't have such acting. Whatever they feel at that time, they will immediately tell, and nobody will mistake them. If a kid is hungry, it will directly say, I am hungry. If an adult is hungry, let us say an adult is in a meeting, and if meeting is going on for hours together, if the adult is hungry, the adult may not say that I am hungry, because the people in the meeting will laugh, but he'll have to pay a bigger price for holding that hunger, because the mucosal layer will get damaged. So hunger is a danger sign. It should be satiated. With that, I'll come back to my discussion here. Don't bear the hunger for much longer. You should not bear the hunger for much longer. After washing the face, consume lemon juice, especially for the Indian ladies who spend their time in kitchen for a large amount of time in the early morning. They should not hold the hunger. Actually, whenever they become hungry, they are holding the hunger, and whenever they are disturbed or irritated, they shout there. Actually, because of the hunger only they are shouting there, and because of the shouting, blood pressure will raise, and because of the shouting, hot verbal exchanges will happen, and because of the shouting, relationships between the inmates of the house will get damaged, and all because of they holding their own hunger. So early morning when you wake up, if your breakfast is late, imagine if your breakfast is late and if you are feeling hungry, at least consume a lemon juice with honey or crushed ginger or mint. Yesterday, Dr. Divya madam asked me about this ginger, mint, and honey. I am adding lemon juice. See, this is the correction here. Don't simply consume ginger or consume garlic and that way. This lemon, Charaka tells that Amalaki, this Indian gooseberry, is the king of fruits. According to Charaka, that is the king of fruits because that is having heavy medicinal property. I'll tell about Amalaki later on. But one more substitute for amalaki easily is lemon. I'll tell us a small story. Okay, I just mentioned about Dr. Divya, and Dr. Divya has sent a message that she couldn't join today. I should keep this mobile away now. Let me keep the mobile away so as to reduce the disturbance. Okay, the story about lemon. One Ayurveda teacher taught Ayurveda to one particular student, and that particular teacher advised the student to go to a particular village where the teacher told, if you go to that village and if you start your medicinal practice, you will have very good livelihood and income. So the student went there in the village, and the student came back and told to his teacher, in that village if I go, I will not be having any good business there. But the teacher told, I have purposefully sent you there, you will have good livelihood there, there are many sick people there. But the student said, sir, when I went there, I saw that the village is filled with lemon trees. There are a lot of lemon trees there, and because of these lemon trees, naturally people will be consuming a lot of lemon juice and they'll be healthy there. Now teacher said, that is what is your misconception. Because they have lemon trees there, you think that they are drinking lemon juice. Just go there and watch again, what are they consuming, just look at them. Student went there and then he came back and told the teacher, yes sir, you are right, those people are so stupid, they are not actually consuming lemon juice, they are actually consuming the lemon seeds. Then the teacher said, that is why I told you, go to that village, almost all people there, they have a stomach which is upset because of their habit of eating this lemon seeds, and due to which you will have a very good business there. Okay, which means lemon juice is such a medicinal juice, but those people who were in the village, they were not consuming lemon juice, they were consuming lemon seeds. Actually, lemon seeds are very bitter. So that way, consume lemon juice which is mixed with honey or crushed ginger or mint. This lemon juice will pacify the hydrochloric acid that is there in the secreted in the stomach. And lemon juice is a very good substitute. It has some good qualities of bile juice also. So that way, lemon juice is a very good healthy supplement. So don't hold hunger for much longer. Consume lemon juice with honey or crushed ginger or mint. These are optional. Or fruit juice without sugar. Don't add sugar. Fruit juice directly. Or warm milk with honey or badam mixture. Or if you have enough time, you can produce ash gourd juice. And you can, if you still have more time, you can prepare a groundnut smoothie. Groundnut smoothie means fresh groundnuts, put them in a mixer and add a little bit of milk and run the mixie. You will develop a smoothie. You can add a little bit of honey into it or jaggery into it. You can make a milkshake. That is called groundnut smoothie. You can practice yogasana after about 1 hour. If you consume all these things, you should not do physical exercise immediately. You should practice your physical exercise after about 1 hour, because milk takes its own time to digest. So again, my tip is, don't bear the hunger. If breakfast is not prepared, let us say if breakfast is not prepared and if you are hungry, let us say ladies will say, we only have to prepare breakfast and we are hungry and we don't have that much time to prepare breakfast also. You can consume 1 glass of milk porridge. Yesterday there was a question about milk. I'll tell you, milk cannot be avoided in our whole life. In whatever vegans may discuss about it, milk has a lot of healing properties. Milk has got enough calcium also with it. If you forego milk from your diet completely, then you may end up in some other weaknesses in your old age. That is when, ever since civilization happened in the Indian context, they had given enough importance for the consumption of milk. But if you argue about the adulteration of milk, or if you argue about the toxins that are found in the milk due to the chemical processes, I would advise you go for organic milk. Even though it is a little bit expensive, take care of the health that way. Or you buy milk from somebody whom you know already who are around you. That is what I am doing. This I have told yesterday. So consume 1 glass of milk porridge. How to prepare the milk porridge? It can be prepared using corn or wheat flakes. Into milk, you already know about corn or wheat flakes. There are jowar and millet flakes also available in the organic shops, not just corn or wheat flakes. You can buy these jowar or millet flakes. Muesli is available. Puffed paddy, in Kannada we call it as aralu. Puffed paddy is available. Or at least avalakki, beaten rice is available. You can use all these things for preparing a milk porridge. Add these items into the milk, add a little bit of jaggery and wait for some time. It will soak, it will get soaked inside the milk and then you consume it. Again, why? Because if breakfast is not prepared, if you are hungry, then you can consume these. You can practice yogasana or you can practice any physical exercise after about 2 hours. If you consume this, then it takes much more time. These suggestions are only for those people who are staying at home only, not for the people who are going to the office. Okay. That is why yogasana practice after about 2 hours I am telling here. There is a small question, let me see. What about sugar patients? Plain lemon juice. Yes. If there are sugar patients, diabetes is the mother of all other diseases. As much as possible, youngsters don't get diabetes. Live in such a way that you will never get diabetes. Regular physical exercise, regular breathing exercise, and if all your food which is consumed is burnt inside the stomach, and if all the nutrients are absorbed, you will never have diabetes in the body. I'll tell you the cause of diabetes later on in this session only afterwards. Okay, but people who have diabetes, I have no other suggestion. They will have to consume without any sweetening agents like jaggery or sugar. They can consume plain lemon juice itself. Okay, let me proceed. Immediate food. I have some few tips about immediate food. Semolina, in Kannada we call it as rave, or oats, or sago, or finger millet flour, ragi hittu. It can be raw finger millet flour, or it can be sprouted finger millet flour, it can be fried finger millet flour, ragi huri hittu. These are all available in the shops. Or barley flour either raw or fried. These can be used for preparing the same porridge. Using all these, we can prepare porridge. I just want to tell you, there is a beautiful book called Third Eye. That book was written by one Tibetan monk called Tuesday Lobsang Rampa. If people find that book, you can read it. The name of the book is called Third Eye, written by T. Lobsang Rampa. His full name is Tuesday Lobsang Rampa. He was a Tibetan monk. In one of his other books, he was telling about the lifestyle of the Tibetan monks. Monthly once, these Tibetan monks, earlier, not now, now the Tibet is occupied by China. Earlier, when Tibetan monks were staying there, monthly once they used to get a supply of biscuits from India. Whenever they used to get biscuits from India, the monks used to become so happy that that day it was a feast for them. Okay. Otherwise, what was their food? Their food was, they used to have this barley flour, and in their kitchen always there used to be hot water, boiling water. The cooks used to always keep the water boiled, and these monks used to have only barley flour. They used to have a small utensil type of thing made out of bamboo, and each monk used to carry this bamboo. Into this bamboo, the cook used to pour the hot water, and later on he used to pour this barley flour. They used to mix it heavily within this bamboo, and then that itself they used to consume as porridge. That was their regular food, and that was the secret of their health. Just imagine if they were consuming such a soft food which is having enough carbohydrates and it is easily digestible, it has enough nutrition also. With that only Tibetan monks used to survive. Okay, they never had such complicated food which nowadays, in the modern days, the whatever heavy food or lot of complicated food which we are consuming, they never had. Again, remember the picture of that stomach. Now, the items mentioned earlier can be directly mixed with the diluted hot milk. See, this semolina or rave. Semolina is basically the broken wheat, or oats or sago, or finger millet flour, or sago is basically sabudana. Finger millet flour or barley flour. Sabudana or sago is made out of what is that? Tapioca. Okay, these items mentioned earlier can be directly mixed with a diluted hot milk. The items mentioned above have to be boiled with milk now, because as a raw you cannot consume them. They have to be boiled with milk. A little amount of jaggery or rock sugar or honey can be used for taste. This can be an immediate food. You don't have to wait until somebody prepares you a breakfast, or you only have to prepare a breakfast. So, jovially, if I have to tell you, whenever my wife used to threaten that she will go to native place, I used to have all these things at home in boxes, and I used to just count the number of boxes there. In each box, whatever flour I used to have, and I used to consume these things directly. I used to tell her, you don't have to worry, I'll have my breakfast in this way. Okay. You can prepare an instant porridge powder. Instead of going for all these items, if you want to prepare an instant porridge powder at home, that can be kept prepared as follows. Grind the dried dates, almonds, cashew nuts, raisins together, and then mix them with rice flour, wheat flour, and maize flour. Proportion you only find out by your own experience. Once you become experienced, if the gents are the gents who are listening to me, they also have to learn a little bit of cooking. At least they should at least know how to burn the gas and how to cook the rice. At least some basic cooking skills they should have. Only then they'll appreciate the cooking skills of their own life partners or wives or mothers or whoever. So, grind the dried dates, almonds, cashew nuts, and raisins together. Mix with the rice flour and wheat flour and maize flour. See, you will have proteins and you will have carbs. Okay. Then, whenever required, you will have enough iron content also because of the dried dates. You will have enough omega 3 also because of the almonds. Whenever required, pour 3 teaspoons of this powder into 1 glass of hot milk with a little bit of jaggery and rock sugar. Consume this after 3 minutes. Within the 3 minutes, this will become a porridge and you can consume this. This will be very tasty and this will be nutritious as well. This is an instant porridge powder which you can prepare at home. There is a question about, is semolina made out of maida? No, semolina is not made out of maida. Rave is not made out of maida. Okay, the one which is made like sticks for preparing your what is that, payasam, kheer, that is made out of maida. But basic rave, in Kannada we have three rave called chiroti rave, bansi rave, sada rave. Means three types of semolina we have. They are all direct broken wheat. They are not maida. Okay, let me continue. How breakfast should be. Breakfast should be snigdha. It should be soft fluid, as I have been telling yesterday. It should not be shushka. It should not be dry solid. Now just remember what all breakfast you have and how that breakfast is. Any breakfast you think about. Morning when you have breakfast, just think, is it a soft fluid or is it a dry solid? If it is dry solid, you are giving pain to your stomach there. Your stomach will take more time to digest it. Your stomach will secrete more hydrochloric acid. Stomach will put more effort for digestion. So it should be soft fluid so that the food can be easily digested and the stools can be easily passed out. Hence, reduce the intake of completely solid foods. Ensure that the food is soft enough and at the same time highly rich with fiber. Your breakfast should not be completely solid. For example, idli. If you have idli, idli should be soft enough. Idli should not be hard. Let us say early morning if you have chapati, chapati should be soft. It should not be really very hard. Okay, early morning you should have highly solid food, especially this dosa. Dosa is fried. When dosa is fried, dosa will not be soft as such unless you make it soft that way by using fermenting agents, or if you use such batter which is fermented, then the dosa will become really very soft. Otherwise, most of the dosas are really hard items. They are solid as such. Ensure that the food is soft enough and at the same time highly rich with fiber. Especially in the South India, they consume this uppittu, uppu hittu, salt plus rave, semolina, and they add onion and chilies and all that. In general, it has a nickname called concreto. Uppittu means concreto, means for digestion, lot of time is utilized by the stomach. Such breakfast, once in a while it is okay. Such breakfast should not be regular. If it is regular, stomach will become upset on a daily basis. So breakfast should be snigdha, it should not be shushka. Don't consume roasted dosa, idli, upma, rice bath, maida bread, puliyogre and such dry items regularly. If daily, now people will say, sir, daily we are consuming these things only. Daily you are consuming these things only. That is why people are suffering the same way. In the early age itself, young age itself, people will have stomach related issues, kidney related issues. I have been discussing with so many of my young yoga students also. They used to have multiple issues at the very young age, all because of these habits. Just go back 20-30 years before. 20-30 years before, in our own society, did we have such type of complicated breakfast culture? No. Yesterday I was telling, in our grandfather's time or our great grandfather's time, they never used to have breakfast. They used to have only 2 meals per day. Now in the breakfast, we are taking all these type of items which are heavy items. In the early morning itself, we are straining our system. So it should not be daily roasted dosa, idli, upma, rice bath, maida bread, puliyogre and such dry items regularly. But whenever you consume them, drink sufficient amount of water later on. Not immediately with it. After about half an hour after consuming all these things, you should drink sufficient amount of water so that at least stomach will relax. When the water goes in, this heavy item will become softer there. Okay. Whenever dosa, idli or rice item is prepared, it should be soft enough. For example, pongal. Pongal with Bengal gram and rice, or green gram, dal and rice. That is pongal or khichdi. You are all familiar with these things. Pongal and khichdi are much better than puliyogre and this rice bath. Chitrana in Karnataka, they keep on calling it as Chitrana, Vichitrana. Pongal and khichdi are much better because pongal and khichdi are soft. They are snigdha, whereas rice bath and puliyogre are shushka. Neer dosa, Mangalore side, South Kerala side or Kerala side, they will consume a lot of neer dosa. Neer dosa will be really very soft. Or you can prepare a dosa which is prepared of soya bean and flax seed. Flax seed is rich with the omega-3 oil. Soya bean is rich with protein. You can soak them in the previous night, and morning you can have a batter of the same. You can prepare the dosa. That will be really very soft. Or ash gourd or bottle gourd, sorekai, budgumbalkai. Ash gourd or bottle gourd, you can use this along with the rice for preparing dosa. That will be soft. Or nowadays multigrain flours are available in the market. Multigrain flour can be used for preparing dosa, but ensure that this dosa should be soft. Especially masala dosa, benne dosa, they are not actually very good for the digestive system. In Ayurveda, there is a saying that whatever is good to the mouth is bad to the stomach. Whatever is good to the mouth, whatever is tasty to the mouth, that is bad to the stomach. Because we increase the taste, we try to increase the taste of the food by means of lot of synthesis, lot of additional process. For example, masala dosa. They pour batter on the tawa, and then they spread a chili masala, and then they put one aloo potato mixture, then they fold it, then they give a chutney, then they'll put additional butter there. Now think about that potato, think about the butter there, and think about the red chili masala there. Now think about the stomach also at that time. In the mouth, you may relish the taste of the masala dosa, But the same thing when it goes to the stomach, again recall the picture of the stomach and think about the state of affairs which is happening inside the stomach. That is why they have told whatever is very tasty to the mouth, it will be very bad to the stomach. Remember this. Similarly, pizza or maida bread, especially maida bread or pizza or bun or rusk or toast, any bakery item for that matter, any bakery items for that matter. It will be very tasty for the tongue, but think about when it goes into the stomach, how much of effort the stomach has to put to digest the same pizza. Pizza, below it is maida, white flour, above which it is cheese, and there are some toppings. And you may relish the taste of the pizza, but once it goes into the stomach, again understand the process that is going on. So, for breakfast, this is my practice. I am not forcing you to follow this method, but I have been practicing it from last 10-15 years. I started practicing because I have observed my own grandfather, my own father, my own elders who were there in the villages. They used to live this lifestyle. In our generation, our definition of breakfast changed. In our children's generation, the definition of breakfast is still changed. It has become more and more complicated, more and more unhealthy. Taste is given more importance, health is given less importance. That is when the younger generation are suffering. So I used to compare these things. When I compared, I used to just observe how our elders used to live, what they used to consume. Then I came to know the secret that morning they were consuming porridge or gruel. Even now, I think almost 50% to 75% of Kerala state in the early morning they consume porridge only. I have compared the state of health of the coastal districts and the state of health with this Bangalore side or this Karnataka's mid region side. And I have observed that the coastal side people they will have less suffering with stomach related diseases when compared to the people who are staying this side. Then I used to compare the food habits. Coastal side people used to consume red boiled rice, which used to be much softer. This side people, plateau side people, Deccan plateau side people used to consume polished rice, polished white rice. Fiber was less there. So later I understood why they call this polished rice also they included in the 5 white poisons. That is because of this, that the heavily polished or more costly rice will not have its fiber layer at the top. Then I understood I should not buy rice which is more expensive. More expensive means it will have more style, it'll get cooked in the cooker very easily, it will be very dry, very light. Now, rice, if it is having nutrition, rice should not be very light, rice should be sticky. If it is losing all its outer layer, if it is not having a fiber, then what nutrition it has got? Later on, I started buying the rice which is of lesser rate. Same Sona Masuri is available in many ranges. The expensive rice is more polished, triple polished, double polished. Whereas the lesser expensive rice is actually unpolished or only single polished. Nowadays, when I go towards Hasan or Gorur side, there we go to rice mill, and in the rice mill we ask the rice mill owner to give us completely unpolished rice. Only the external husk should be removed. We get those rice directly. Whenever we go that side, we purchase such rice and we bring it home. So I am telling all these things because I compared the way in which older generation people used to live. They never used to consume polished rice, and that was the secret of their health because the stomach used to remain healthy. And they used to consume porridge or gruel in the early morning itself. So for breakfast, consume porridge or gruel prepared of red rice, organic rice. In organic rice, many varieties are available. Black rice is available, white rice with fenugreek or methi. You can add methi or cumin seeds or jeera along with the white rice. You can prepare a porridge. Brown rice is available, completely unpolished. Brown rice is available. You can add sesame seeds while boiling the brown rice, or you can mix broken wheat with rice, or you can use pearl millet ganji or pearl millet gruel. I consume at home, very tasty. Or you can have a ganji or gruel or porridge of barley, either raw or fried or powdered. You can use boiled rice, or you can also use red boiled rice. You can use sorghum or jowar also with moong dal for the same porridge. You can experiment with these rice varieties. You can mix red rice with the organic rice mixture. This way, you can experiment on your own with the different types of rices or different types of porridges or gruels. They will have enough carbs and they will yield enough energy. They will be easily digestible as well. Now, don't mock at me saying that ಏನ್ sir ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗಂಜಿ ತಿನ್ನೋ ಗತಿ ಬಂತಲ್ಲ. Don't mock at me saying that what sir you are so poor that you are eating ganji or porridge or gruel. Then I will tell you the value of ganji only I know. Only the people who consume it they will know. Ganji, gruel or porridge used to be called as poor people's food. No, when the rich people spoilt their stomach with more and more of synthesized, complicated food material, now the only solution to keep the stomach healthy is to simplify the food. As much as possible, have simple food, easy food, nutritious food. Soak the required grain in water overnight and boil it in the morning with water. Use coconut milk whenever required for obtaining a consistent or tasty porridge. For those of you who are not aware of the ganji or gruel or porridge, please study a little more about how they prepare ganji or ask somebody nearby if there are people who are consuming these porridges or gruels, ask them how to prepare. What I can suggest you is this itself. Select a particular rice grain, any particular rice grain. In our kitchen, I have nearly 8 to 10 bottles. In each bottle, I'll have different varieties of rice. Last week, I went to this Lumiere outlet, and when I went there, I saw this Kuruva Matta rice. When last time when we had gone to Kerala, we had gone to visit Kanjangad. There in one shop, we had brought this matta rice. Matta is basically a red colored rice through which we can prepare porridge itself. When I saw that here in Bangalore, I immediately, 4 packets were there, all the 4 packets I brought home. Sometimes when my old students come here, I simply give 1 packet of rice to them. That is the ganji which we consume nowadays. And along with that, I have many other rice varieties. All these rice varieties, organic rice varieties, are available right now. Find out the nearest organic shops nearby. If you want health, don't worry about the cost. Sometimes people calculate a lot about saving lot of money by all these type of silly bargaining. But if they go to a shopping mall, if they go to one film show, they'll spend a lot of money in the restaurant and all those things. They'll spend thousands together for some other event. But when it comes to their own health, they become too much calculative. Oh, rice is that much costlier, they say. Now think about the health in the long run. In order to avoid your hospitalization, in order to avoid the pain in the stomach, in order to avoid your sicknesses, in order to avoid all the group medical insurance or whatever, better prevention is right now planned. That is my way of life. That is how I have studied all these things. I will not allow anybody to make my body treated like a mechanic who is treating a motorcycle or a car there. For a doctor, this body is like a mechanic repairing a car or a bike. Doctors will never understand a patient's pain. Even if the patient is crying, doctor will give anesthesia and he'll stop its crying. Doctor will cut something somewhere. My point is, this body is designed by God, manufactured by God. No one else has any right to cut anything in this body. This body is designed by God, manufactured by God. Let human beings understand the divinity that is inside this body. let them maintain the health that way. Let them not allow anybody else to use a needle or scissors or knife to cut this body. That is what is my point. Now the surgeons may become angry on me when I tell all these things, but I'll just say that surgeon did not design my body. God only designed my body inside my mother's womb. Okay, whole rice is costlier, white rice is cheaper. Okay, correct. Organic rice is costlier. Organic rice is costlier. Here in Bangalore, there are polished rices. So more polished rice is more costly here because it goes through polishing processes. I was telling about the Sona Masuri rice, not about the organic rice. Organic rice is costlier than other rice. Consume different porridge each day with very little salt. Very little salt. If possible, buy Himalayan salt or Saindhava Lavana. Buy that organic salt, natural salt. Don't buy the regular salt which is available in the shop. With very little salt, small amount of ghee or butter, and or plain roasted papad, not oil roasted, plain roasted papad. Because just porridge is actually tasteless. It may be nutritious, but it may be tasteless. You can add a taste by a little bit of salt or ghee and plain roasted papad for making the porridge delicious. It can be boiled with coconut milk and a little jaggery and can be garnished with cashew nuts also, almonds also, raisins also. That way your porridge will become a rich man's porridge. It will become tastier also, it will become nutritious also. Don't keep on putting more things into the chat box because my attention will be going away. I'll give you a chance at the end, you can ask me questions. In the middle, I'll get diverted. Yes, I have already told these rice needs to be soaked overnight and then prepare porridge in the morning, not grinding. Okay, for that question, soak the required grain in water overnight. In the morning, put it into the cooker. If you are using a cooker, 1:6 times of water. Let us say for 1 cup of rice, use at least 6 cups of water and at least 6 whistles in the beginning. After 6 whistles, put it into sim. In sim, again another 6 whistles. It will take more time. Okay, but it is worth it. You have to experiment. As I have told you, you have to learn cooking now. You have to learn cooking, you have to experiment. Maybe once or twice you may fail, but gradually you will learn cooking. Once or twice, even if you fail, you will have to consume the porridge which you prepared, whether it is boiled or not. You only have to consume it. That is part of your karma. But learn cooking this way. Experiment with it. You need not grind it because it is not a flour. When you soak it overnight, it will become soft in the morning. Once it becomes soft in the morning, it will easily boil with water. As I told you, at least 1:6 water and at least 6 whistles initially, then 6 whistles in sim. Afterwards, you can use salt or ghee and you can consume that porridge. Now the breakfast is continued. You can see mint leaves, you can see curry leaves, you can see chutneys. Especially, I should appreciate the people of Tamil Nadu. The people of Tamil Nadu, they produce varieties of chutneys of so many varieties. Now, curry of sprouted pulses, along with porridge, you can have all this chutney. Curry of sprouted pulses, Bengal gram, in Kannada we call it as kadale, horse gram, in Kannada we call it as huruli, green gram, hesaru, groundnut, nelgadle and soya bean. This is the formula which Yogavana Swami told me. Yesterday I had told you that I was in touch with him. Half of the credit of this PPT goes to him only. I learnt a lot from him. And he says Bengal gram, horse gram, green gram, groundnut and soya bean. Use these 5. You get them sprouted, then you can make their curry. This is one option. Next option, alternatively, chutney can be prepared of one or more of these items: coriander leaves, brahmi, mint leaves, tomato, ridge gourd or bottle gourd rind, raw mango, coconut, pachana bhedi, in Kannada we call it as dodpatre. So using all these items, chutney can be prepared, and through this chutney only your porridge can be consumed. Look at this, ganji and chutney. This is especially Kerala. This is that red boiled rice. Using red boiled rice, they prepare porridge. Whoever goes to Sabrimale, they know that on the way to Sabrimale, until they come back, only ganji is served there. In the early morning itself, they'll serve only ganji. I should appreciate the inventors of this ganji and the inventors of ragi mudde. They are great geniuses. Whoever invented ragi mudde, ragi ball, is a genius. We don't know who invented it, is a genius, because ragi mudda is not really completely solid. It is semi-fluid, and it is easy to digest, and it has got enough mineral content. Similarly, whoever invented this red boiled rice, rice is actually, rice or paddy itself is boiled once, and after boiling its husk is taken out. After boiling it is dried. After drying it is husk is taken out. That means, unlike the polishing of the white rice, or unlike the polishing of the Sona Masuri rice, in case of this particular red boiled rice, its outer layer or the fiber layer is not gone, because the paddy itself is boiled. When the paddy is boiled, all its nutrition is already intact. Then the husk is removed, and after, when it is again used for cooking, it becomes soft and bigger. So all the nutrition content of the rice is remained there in case of the red boiled rice. Unlike in the white rice, where it is gone for a milling process, where it is polished and the outer layer is removed. So this is that ganji and chutney. Now in the evening, I told about all this in the morning. Afternoon, I will not discuss that. Afternoon, we don't have so much of freedom. At least morning we have freedom, evening we have freedom. Morning breakfast we can have at home, evening supper we can have at home. Afternoon, whatever you prepare at home, take to the office, or in whichever way, whatever options you have. There I cannot comment. Later on, I have a slide where I am giving a schedule about morning, afternoon and evening. That slide is still after about few more slides. I'll just take 1 minute break. I'll have to drink water. Okay, I told you a story of one Ayurveda teacher and student. That story was not planned for today. Today I had planned for a Tiruvalluvar story. I'm going to tell that story now. There was a great poet come saint. His name was Tiruvalluvar. He had a wife called Vasuki. Tiruvalluvar, all the Tamil Nadu people know about him. He has written a very beautiful book called Tirukkural, which I have not read because it's in Tamil. I cannot read Tamil. I have not read it. Just like in Karnataka, we had a poet called Sarvajna. In Tamil Nadu, there was a poet come saint called Tiruvalluvar. After his marriage, when Vasuki came as his wife, he put a condition to his wife that every day when the wife feeds food to him, she should keep one conch in front of the banana leaf. Generally, olden days, people used to squat on the floor. In front of them, there used to be banana leaf or plantain leaf. They never used to have dining table system. And in the banana leaf only, food used to be served. So he told to his wife that every day when she feeds food, there must be a conch kept in front of the banana leaf, and inside the conch there must be water. On top of the conch there must be a needle. This was the condition. Vasuki agreed. Vasuki did not ask any question. If at all I would have told this to my wife, she would have become so angry, saying that preparing food itself is a great job. Should I do all this conch and water and needle and all that? Any wife would have been objecting all these things. But Vasuki belonged to the older generation where devotion and fear were together. She never questioned Thiruvalluvar, why is it required? She never said no also. She kept conch, inside the conch she kept water, on top of the conch she kept needle. Thiruvalluvar did not use it at all. After the lunch was over, she took it out, she washed the conch and she kept it aside. Again night also, she kept the conch, water, needle. Thiruvalluvar did not use it at all. Again next day, again next day, again next day, next month, next year, next year, next year. It went on like this. Every day, Vasuki used to keep the conch and take it away. Thiruvalluvar never touched it even on one day. And Vasuki was so afraid to ask her own husband what is wrong or what is right. She never asked him any question. After so many years, one day Vasuki was on her deathbed. After old age, Vasuki on her deathbed. Thiruvalluvar went to his wife and asked her, my dear Vasuki, do you have any last wish to be fulfilled? Now Vasuki said, I don't have any last wish, but I wanted to ask you a question ever since I got married, but I did not develop the courage of asking this question. Today I want to ask you the question. What was my mistake that you never used the conch? And you never told me my mistake also. I was also afraid to ask. I must have been doing some mistake, and due to which you never used that conch and water. Now Thiruvalluvar said, my dear Vasuki, if you would have done a mistake, I would have used it. You did not do a mistake, that's why I did not use it. Now Vasuki asked, what was that? Then Thiruvalluvar said, whenever you are feeding food to me, even one rice grain did not spill out of the leaf. If any rice grain would have spilled out of the leaf, I would have picked up the needle, I would have picked it, and I would have washed it in the water in the conch, I would have put it back to my leaf. You were so careful in offering the food or in serving the food. Even one rice grain in his whole lifetime, you never spilled it out. You never gave me a chance for using that water which is in the conch. Vasuki, you have been a highly devoted wife. You had no fault at all. Vasuki died so happily. Now remember the role model of Thiruvalluvar and Vasuki, and remember how much of food in the modern days people waste. Thiruvalluvar was caring for even one rice grain should not go away. In Hindi they say दाने दाने पे लिखा है खाने वाले का नाम. दाने दाने पे खाने वाले का लिखा नाम लिखा है या नहीं पता नहीं, लेकिन दाना दाना जो है भगवान का देन है. एक एक दाना जो है भगवान का देन है. One rice grain, when it sprouts, it becomes a rice plant. One rice plant yields nearly 300 rice grains. Which bank gives this much of interest within 3 months? One rice plant, it grows within 3 months, and one rice grain becomes 300 rice grains in the rice plant. Which bank gives this much of interest in 3 months? It is God's bank. So when God is producing such a food for human beings to survive, should we not care for the food? In spite of this much of technology, whatever technology we have, in spite of this much of technology, we cannot synthesize one drop of water. We are still dependent on ponds and rivers for our drinking water or whatever type of water. We cannot biologically or chemically or physically synthesize H2 plus O, H2O. Everybody knows that H2 plus O is H2O. But why don't we have one oxygen cylinder, one hydrogen cylinder? Why don't we prepare water that way? No. Even if we prepare the water that way, we cannot drink that water. A chemically synthesized water we cannot drink. That means, in spite of this much of technology, we are dependent on the God made water only. One drop of water also. In spite of this much of technology, we cannot produce one drop of blood. God produces blood in the body. And whenever a blood is lost by somebody else donate blood. Why don't we synthesize the blood in a biotechnology lab? Is it possible? No. Even a one drop of blood cannot be synthesized. So we should care. Remember the story of Thiruvalluvar and Vasuki. Care for your food. That was my story for today. Let me continue. Okay. Regarding morning, I told all these things. If people have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll proceed for the evening. Anybody has any question? What is your opinion about water fasting? Regarding fasting, yesterday only I had told. Fasting is against health. Fasting can be done only when there is excess food taken. Let us say you have a heavy food in the afternoon. Dinner you can avoid because you will sense that the afternoon food itself is not digested fully, and you can reduce your intake of food in the evening, or you can completely stop it. So body only will tell you when to consume food, when not to consume food. When the body tells you that it is hungry, then it means that it needs food. So fasting is as such against health. So there is nothing called water fasting. Water fasting is also against health. We are not water drinking fishes. We are food eating human beings or mammals. We require semi-fluid food or liquid food or sometimes solid food. Fruits and vegetables, they are part of our food. We are evolved from Homo sapiens. We are basically evolved from apes. And all the apes consume fruits and vegetables only. That is our primordial food, which is directly available in nature. We have a food culture where we started cooking. Cooking is against nature as such. Due to our own conveniences, we started storing food grains, and after storing food grains, we started using them on a daily basis. That is how cooking became a part of life. Otherwise, except for human beings, all other birds and animals on this earth, they don't do any cooking. They consume food directly from nature. So there is nothing called water fasting as such for the human beings. Don't go for all such practices just because somebody else tells you. Don't do all those things. Okay. Cooking in pressure cooker is healthy. Olden days people used to cook in different vessels. Yes, yes. If you can go for that, whole day you will end up cooking only. Think of practical things. If you have enough time, let us say you are retired, you stay at home, then you can use a mud pot and you can use a regular wood. You can have a small fireplace where you can burn wood and you can cook. But whole day you will be doing that only. That was what my grandmother was doing. Whole day they used to be inside the kitchen only. Cooking food itself was a great time passing activity there. But do we have that much of time? That is why pressure cooker is better. Pressure cooker is healthy or not, that's a different case. Pressure cooker will not lose lot of health because it will not make the nutrients go away from the food. There is advantage in using pressure cooker and there is advantage in using gas. So that way we need not follow everything that is old. Kalidasa says one poem, Puranamityevana sadhu sarvam, Nachapi kavyam navamityavadyam, Santaparishyani yatarad bhajante, Moda parapratyaineya buddhihi. Don't consider that everything old is great and don't consider that everything new is waste. Don't say that way. Puranam iti evanna sadhu sarvam, Nachapi kavyam navamiti avadyam. Don't discard the new practices also. Don't worship the old practices also. Have a blend of both. Some of the old practices are precious, same way some of the new practices are also advantageous. We should have an intellectual power or discrimination power to take whichever is advantageous. So that way we cannot go back to olden days. Just like olden days when they lived in caves, we cannot start living in caves. Okay. Does sitting posture while eating has any impact? Not seriously. If you squat and eat, you will consume more. If you sit in the chair and eat, you will consume less. Because if you squat and eat, your stomach will expand sideways, where you can fill more. If you sit straight in a chair, you are constricting yourself. In general, because of this question, I will tell you one thing. I have been seeing my friend Afsar Pasha, who was a very orthodox Muslim. He used to sit with one leg folded. And one day I asked him, why do you sit like that? He used to say that it's a custom that we should eat half stomach only. We should not fill our stomach fully. So, when he used to press one thigh to the stomach, they never were able to eat complete stomach full. That way they used to remain healthy, which was a very good practice for them. That way there are so many such experiments. Okay, let it suffice for the question now. Let me continue. It is 8:45. Let me continue. Don't consume any junk food. In the evening, in general, people have this habit. In the evening, go for pani puri joint, go for bende masala joint, go for gobi manchuri, go for something in the evening, bhaji, bonda, something like that. It's all junk food. Some type of sandwich, some type of pizza, fast food, some snacks. As much as possible, avoid all these things. They are all, in general, they are all fried or they are all fat rich. Don't bite on these hard sweet products. If you are hungry, consume one glass of milk porridge. I have already told what is milk porridge. You can prepare at home itself. Otherwise, consume panchamrita. Panchamrita, hot milk, curd, ghee, honey, and rock sugar. Rock sugar is available in organic stores or in Grandige stores. And hot milk, curd, you prepare at home. Ghee, prepare at home. You can prepare at home, or organic ghee is also available. Honey is anyhow available. If you mix all these five, it is called Pancha Amrita. Hot milk, curd, ghee, honey, and rock sugar. Or else Madhuparka, only curd, honey, and ghee. See, this honey has got fructose. Ghee has got easily digestible fat. Ghee is actually fat. Fat means it is a very good fat. Ghee is required to the body. People have a misconception that ghee is fat. Butter is fat. When butter is boiled into ghee, all the hard fatty substance is boiled out. And if ghee is kept even for 100 years, ghee will not become spoiled. In general, in Ayurveda, they say Ghrita, Sarpi, Kumbha Sarpi. Ghrita, for normal ghee, they call it as Ghrita. If the Ghrita is kept in a vessel for 10 years, then they call it as Sarpi. The Ghrita which is kept for 10 years, they preserve it and they use it for medicines. Then it is called as Sarpi. If the same Sarpi is kept for 100 years in an earthen pot, then they call it as Kumbha Sarpi. Now you may think, if they keep for 100 years, who will use it? Somebody will plant a coconut tree. Somebody else will use it, right? My grandfather planted a coconut tree. We started using it. So that Kumbha Sarpi is kept for the future generation. They preserve medicinal quality ghee that way. I don't know now whether they practice it or not, but this was the practice of Ayurveda few centuries before. That Kumbha Sarpi used to have a high healing properties. That way ghee is having a high healing property. Just like we add engine oil to all our engines, all locomotives, to the bikes and cars and buses, we put a lot of engine oil. Same way, internally to our body, to avoid friction within the muscles, some lubricating agent is required. Otherwise, we have a lot of acids and fluids within the body. Some pacifying agent is required. That is what is ghee. So, in Ayurveda, from the very beginning, they used to administer the usage of milk and ghee and honey. So, curd, honey, and ghee. Curd is a fermenting agent, honey is a fructose, ghee is a lubricating agent as well as nutritious. So, these three, if you mix, it is called madhuparka. The five, if you mix, it is called panchamrita. Don't bite on a samosa or a kachori. Another alternative is herbal tea or kashaya or kesar milk. Herbal tea are already familiar. Green tea or anyhow familiar. In the market, green tea is available a lot. But green tea is a formula of Chinese. Herbal tea is a formula of Indians. I'll tell you the composition of herbal tea later on. In my slides, I have the method to prepare herbal tea also. You will have to wait until then. Kashaya, kesar milk. What is the difference between kashaya and herbal tea? I am going to tell you later. You use with milk, you don't use with milk. Those are these two things. If you add milk, then it becomes kashaya. If you don't add milk, it is called as herbal tea. You can add kesar to the milk, that is called kesar milk. Dissolve a little rock sugar in the milk, add a little cardamom powder and a few threads of saffron, leave it for some time, that becomes a kesar milk. If your profession does not involve walking, let us say whole day you are sitting in the office, go for a brisk walk in the evening. During walking, if the atmosphere is clean, then perform any comfortable pranayama, counting the steps. I can tell you a particular amount of pranayama. When you walk, if the atmosphere is clean, let us say you are in a park where there are less people, for each step you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that way you can count, and each step you can keep on breathing in slowly. Let us say 6 steps you breathe in, next 6 steps you breathe out. 6 is to 6, 6 puraka, 6 rechaka. If 6 is not comfortable for you, go for 4. If 4 is not comfortable for you, go for 2. 2 steps breathe in, 2 steps breathe out. Again 2 steps breathe in, 2 steps breathe out. You practice this for, let us say, 3 days or 1 week. Next, gradually increase it to 4 steps breathing in, 4 steps breathing out. Then 6 steps breathing in, 6 steps breathing out. That way walking is also happening and pranayama or breathing exercise is also happening. Now, if you want to meditate at the same time, okay, you can keep on chanting Om also at that time. Let us say pranayama is not possible. Maybe the air is not clean around you. But you need not, while walking, you need not think of all other things what happened in the office. Instead, while you walk, you keep on chanting Om for each step. That way, you will practice dharana while walking also. All the suggestions why I am telling is people will say that they don't have time, they don't have time. Whatever time is available, they can utilize that time. Otherwise, they will never have time. Or someday they will have a lot of time, but they will have nothing else to do. Okay. Before supper, this is important. Before supper, consume every day 1 teaspoon of Agastya Rasayana, Ashwagandha Rasayana, Brahma Rasayana, Brahmi Rasayana, Drakshadi Rasayana, Jeeraka Rasayana, Shatavari Rasayana, any one of them. I am proud to tell you that I have all these at home. 1 day, 1 each. That way I consume. Regarding Rasayana, I am going to tell you later. Don't ask me questions about Rasayana right now. Just listen to what I say and just follow that. All these are available in Ayurvedic medical shops. All of these, if you buy 1 each, it may come to around 1000 to 1500 rupees. But it is worth it because this will last at least for the next 1 year, 1 year to 2 years. 1 teaspoon per day. It will last to next to 2 years. And this Rasayana will have a good shelf life. At least 2 years. Any Rasayana will survive. So, before supper, consume every day 1 teaspoon of either Agastya Rasayana or Ashwagandha Rasayana or Brahma Rasayana or Brahmi Rasayana or Drakshadi Rasayana or Jeeraka Rasayana or Shatavari Rasayana. Rasayana. Ayurveda has something called Ashtanga Chikitsa. There is something called Vajikarana Chikitsa, anti-aging therapy. Vajikarana means anti-aging therapy. Rasayana is one of the basic ingredients used for Vajikarana Chikitsa, for anti-aging. Chyavanprasha is also one of them. I am going to tell you about the story of Chyavanprasha at the end of this sessions only. Not now. You have to wait until then. So, in our regular food, let us say we are consuming most of the synthesized food. In this synthesized food, how much of amounts of nutrients we have? Now, unfortunately, most of the farmers are using insecticides and pesticides for production. We don't know whichever food we consume, even if we go for organic food also, in one way or the other, any one item may be adulterated. We don't know. And in spite of we taking all the care, still we may lack some nutrients. For example, in the olden days, the way in which vegetables and fruits they were consuming, we may not be consuming all those varieties of vegetables and fruits. And in some way, there may be some lacking of nutrients. Now, how to supply that? The centuries before itself, the saints of Ayurveda had understood that consumption of food can be monotonous. Some sect of people may keep on consuming rice lifelong. Some sect of people may keep on consuming ragi for lifelong. Some sect of people may keep on consuming wheat only for lifelong, or jowar only for lifelong, or barley only for lifelong. Think about the Tibetan monks, they have been consuming barley only lifelong, and some people are consuming only ragi mudde lifelong. But as far as the health is concerned, body requires variety of nutrients. Now, for this variety of nutrients, how to supply them? That is when they thought of rasayana. And they invented lot of such tasty rasayanas. All these rasayanas are very tasty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For 7 days, 7. All these 7 rasayanas. Keep 7 bottles of rasayana at home. Each day, 1 teaspoon of rasayana, 1 teaspoon, followed by a small amount of warm milk or warm water. Milk is better compared to warm water. If people do not like drinking milk, they can go for warm water. This you do it before supper. Before supper or after supper, everything is fine. But I would advise before supper only, because each rasayana contains 1 teaspoon of rasayana contains enough nutrients. Later on, you consume food. Before the food goes to the stomach, rasayana has gone there, and stomach will digest it easily. And into the intestine also, rasayana goes first, food goes next. Or even if the rasayana gets mixed with food also, no problem. It will be easily absorbed into the bloodstream. This is a very healthy practice. Look at this. I was telling about madhuparka, curd, ghee and honey. This is madhuparka. I put a small picture here just to indicate the ratio of the madhuparka. Curd is 3 parts, honey is 2 parts, ghee is 1 part. This is now madhuparka. That is why I put this particular picture. 1 is to 2 is to 3. 1 is to 2 is to 3. This 1, this 2, this 3. So let curd be 3 parts, let honey be 2 parts, let ghee be 1 part. 1 teaspoon of ghee, 2 teaspoons of honey, 3 teaspoons of curd. That is called madhuparka. Now the speciality of this madhuparka, curd is vatanashaka as per Ayurveda. Vata means gas. Curd is a fermenting agent, which means the undigested food in Ayurveda, undigested food is called as ama. From the beginning, Ayurvedic saints have been telling that whatever we consume, it should be burnt inside. It should be burnt inside, it should be digested fully, only the waste should go out of the rectum. Otherwise, food should be completely digestible. If the food remains half digested, then the half digested food itself will get stuck in the intestine, and the half digested food will start secreting gases. Yesterday I was telling about those toxic gases. And if the toxic gases are stuck in the intestine, they will spoil the intestine. Yesterday I had shown you the picture of intestine also. It is about 25 to 30 feet. In the 25 to 30 feet intestine, if the gases are stuck in between, there will be a blockage of the feces there. So, curd or buttermilk helps here. Wherever such gases are there, curd is a fermenting agent, or buttermilk is also a fermenting agent. When the curd goes there, curd will actually eradicate all these gases. That is why it is called vatanashaka. And honey is kaphanashaka. honey has got enough amount of fructose, and as such honey is sweet. Because it is sweet, it is inducing a little bit of warmth in the body. When it is inducing warmth in the body, it is called kapanashaka. Kapha means cold, vata means gas, pitta means heat. This is called tridosha in Ayurveda: vata, pitta, kapha. In general, in Ayurveda, there is something called nadi pariksha. They keep the three fingers on the left side below the thumb, and they touch, press through all the three fingers. They check the pulse through the three fingers. Unlike the regular allopathic doctors normally touch only through the thumb and they only check the beating of the pulse. Whereas Ayurveda Nadi experts, they press all the three fingers there, in all the three fingers, in whichever way they feel the pulsations. Based on that, they determine that this particular body is of Vata type or Pitta type or Kapha type. So it is called VPK. On the root of the thumb, if you keep your ring finger, then middle finger, then forefinger, if the pulse is felt predominantly in the ring finger, then you are of Vata type. If purely in the middle finger, then it is of Pitta type. Purely in the forefinger, then it is called Kapha type. Okay, VPK, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. But any person having complete pure Vata, pure Pitta, pure Kapha is not possible. Same way, somebody is having equal amount of Vata, Pitta, Kapha is also not possible. 33% Vata, 33% Pitta, 33% Kapha is not possible. In that case, all the three fingers, the therapist should be feeling pulsations. But that is also not possible. That will become an ideal body. In an ideal body, gas, cold, and heat are all in equal proportion. But that ideal body is impossible. So some people will have Vata Kapha, Kapha Pitta, Pitta Vata, something like that. It's a mixture of all these three. I was telling you about this Rasayana and Madhuparka also. See, this is Vatanashaka, this is Kaphanashaka, and the ghee is Pittanashaka. So if somebody is having excessive heat, that heat will be reduced by the ghee. If excessive cold, that cold will be reduced by the honey. And if excessive gas, gas will be reduced by the curd. Now, curd is Balavardhaka. Curd will be strengthening. Curd is basically a fermented milk itself. Milk has enough nutrition. And honey is Agnivardhaka. As I told, honey is going to increase the heat of the body. That way, it is going to increase the digestive fire. It is going to increase the efficiency of the stomach. It is Agnivardhaka. And ghee is called Buddhivardhaka. When ghee, it goes into the bloodstream, gradually the same blood will get circulated to the brain as well, and even the neurons require enough nutrition. In fact, the brain requires nearly 25% of the energy that is produced in the body. If let us say your body produces, let us say 1000 calories, out of 1000 calories, 250 calories are consumed by the brain itself. Because brain contains trillions of neurons. Each neuron requires nutrition for its activity. And nutrition is coming from the blood itself, bloodstream itself. And the blood should contain nutrition in its own way. That way, the ghee itself gets transformed into nutrition. That is why ghee is called Buddhivardhaka. Now, as far as the chemistry is concerned, curd contains vitamins A, D, and B12. And honey contains fructose, glucose, and sucrose. And ghee contains vitamin A and omega 3 and omega 6 and omega 9. In this way, the consumption of Madhuparka is a very good habit in the lifestyle. So, as such, don't go for that gobi manchuria or pani puri or kachori or samosa or whatever type of pizzas or whatever. Pizzas or burgers or momos or whatever. Change your lifestyle, understand your body, change your food habits, and that is how live a healthy and happy life. With this, I'll stop for today. It is already 9 o'clock now. I'll be emailing the recordings. Let me see in the chat if there are questions, only one or two I'm going to answer. There is a question, where is gut? As per the usual sayings, do what your gut says. Can we really think with our gut? Gut is basically stomach. Gut feeling means, feeling comes from the stomach. The basic feeling which any general being, whether bird or animal or human, basic feeling which they have is hunger only. Whenever they meet each other, they will keep saying, utaita, tindi aita. They keep saying whether lunch is over, dinner is over, whether breakfast is over. What is what? That is itself is gut feeling. They are telling the feeling of the gut itself. So mostly we are worried mainly about our feeling of the stomach. When we say livelihood, livelihood basically means what? Livelihood basically means feeding the stomach itself. Okay. I'm taking care of the family. If a family member says I'm taking care of the whole family, let us say if I say that I'm taking care of my wife and my son, I'm taking care of my stomach, I'm taking care of their stomachs also. So gut is basically stomach, nothing else. When they say gut feeling, that is stomach feeling. Okay. Curd can be mixed with hot substance like hot milk. No. This I'll discuss later. There are some proportions of food. Curd should not be mixed with hot milk. Okay. That way, curd is spoiling the milk and milk is spoiling the curd. Both are spoiling each other. Like a drunkard is spoiling a smoker, smoker is spoiling a drunkard. Both are spoiling each other. That way, curd should not be mixed with hot milk. Then, how much time before supper we should have rasayana? Only 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon, once per day. Before supper, only 1 teaspoon. Otherwise, you will end up eating only rasayana. They are all very tasty. So you end up eating only rasayana. Okay, don't do that. Only 1 teaspoon. Anything in excess is also harmful. 1 teaspoon rasayana before supper. That's all. Is there any specific food for specific organ of the body? No. There is no specific food for specific organ of the body. This body is not like your hydraulic machine. Okay. Body requires carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, fats and minerals. All these in requisite proportions. There are some macronutrients, there are some micronutrients. I am going to discuss that later on. I have a slide for that. You wait until then. There is no specific for a specific organ, but the specific organ will get nourishment from a particular item which is present in the food. That's all. Some people say carrot is good for eyes. Yeah, carrot is also good for eyes. Almond is also good for eyes. Even flax seeds are also good for eyes, because eyes, they have a muzzle there. Eyes, they have a lens there. That particular matter, whichever is there, eyes, let us say it is having a transparent layer there. That layer is made up of some oily substance. That oily substance they have identified as omega-3 oil. Now, omega-3 oil is present in whichever item. They say this is for eyes. But funnily, I will tell you, you consume a food that goes to the stomach. From the stomach, it goes to the intestine. From intestine, it comes to the bloodstream. From the bloodstream, it comes to the eyes. Until then, if it comes to the eyes, then it is useful for the eyes. If before that it goes away in digestion, that is also a waste. One more thing, body knows what to take from the blood. If blood may contain lot of nutrients, every red blood cell is conscious of its own working. So people who have studied biology recall a red blood cell. What all is there inside a cell? Nucleus, Golgi apparatus, ribosome, lysosome, all that you recall again. Each red blood cell has got its own consciousness about what to take into itself and what to give out from itself. That way, body has its own consciousness. We need not worry much about which food is meant for which organ. That body knows itself. People keep saying about carrot and all those things. That carrot vendor will have good business when people keep saying that. At what time should we have dinner before sleep ideally? Okay. Yesterday I had told it. If you have dinner at 8 o'clock, you should sleep at 10 o'clock. Between dinner and your sleeping, there must be at least 2 hours gap. Because when you go to bed, from the food from the stomach should have passed on to the intestine. Then you will have a very good sleep. Okay. Ayurveda also says that food we take should be tasty. What does this mean here, sir? What do you mean by taste? This will go on now. I should end it now. No more questions now. Ayurveda says that food we take is tasty. What is meant by taste? Madhura, Amla, Tikta, Lavana, Katu, Kashaya. If you say that Ayurveda says it should be tasty, tell me the exact shloka. From which book? That way you directly tell me. Ayurveda itself says 6 states. Madhura, Amla, Tikta, Lavana, Katu, Kashaya. Sihi, Huli, Uppu, Vagaru, Khara, Kahi. Sihi, Madhura means sweet. Madhura, Amla, sour. Tikta means bitter. Lavana, salty. Katu means hot or pungent. Kashaya means astringent. These are called 6 tastes. Ayurveda does not say only about sweet. So taste, the definition of taste in Ayurveda is different. It is 6 types of tastes. Many people complain about having gas trouble after they start drinking lemon juice with honey. Yeah, this I told yesterday that it depends on the particular stomach's construction. They should not do self medication on their own. That is why I told honey is optional. Lemon juice is good for everyone. Drink plain lemon juice. Don't put anything else into it. If required, you can put a little bit of cardamom. Don't put anything else into it. But because honey is sweet, lemon is sour, they will have their own chemistry there. That is why in the long term, they should not consume all these things on their own. Lastly, last question. I have a habit of drinking 1 glass of Horlicks before going to bed. Is this good? Horlicks in the morning you drink, in the night you don't drink. And as far as I am concerned, stop drinking Horlicks itself. Okay. Instead, I have already told about porridge powder. Such powder you prepare at home only, because Horlicks is again a synthesized product. Is it better if wheat comes out of a factory, or is it better if you consume wheat directly? Food, if it is directly eaten, is it better, or if the food is synthesized in many other ways and if it's coming in a packet, is it better? So my point is, don't drink Horlicks that way. Okay, it is already 9:10. With this, I'll stop. Take care. Bye bye. Tomorrow we will meet again.